In 2011, researchers ran a simple experiment. They gave people a choice. Take a guaranteed reward now, or wait 24 hours for something slightly better. Most people took the immediate option. That result wasn't surprising. What was surprising? They ran the same test with the exact same rewards, but removed the time pressure entirely. Suddenly, people became patient, rational, and strategic. Nothing changed except the feeling of urgency. And that feeling alone reversed every decision. So here is the question that should unsettle you. How many of your biggest decisions, the job you took, the deal you signed, the person you trusted, were shaped not by logic, but by a clock that someone else started? Urgency is the most elegant psychological trap ever built. It does not require lies. It does not need brute force. It simply needs to make you feel like time is running out. And your own brain does the rest. This channel exists to show you exactly how these systems work. Not to make you paranoid, to make you precise. Because the people who understand manufactured urgency gain something rare. They stop reacting. They start choosing. What you are about to learn has roots in behavioral economics, military psychological operations, and the boardrooms of the world's most profitable companies. These are not theories. They are mechanisms. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Manufactured urgency has a structure. It is not random pressure. It is engineered in 3 precise layers, and each layer serves a specific psychological function. The first layer is the deadline. Real or fabricated, it does not matter. Your brain responds to a deadline the same way, regardless of whether it is true. In 1975, social psychologist Robert Cialdini began cataloging the mechanics of influence. Scarcity and time pressure, he found, did not just motivate people, they narrowed perception. Under urgency, people stop evaluating options. They start executing decisions already made for them by the environment. The second layer is social proof wrapped in scarcity. Think about every time you have seen a hotel booking site tell you only 2 rooms left at this price. That phrase is doing 2 things simultaneously. It signals that others are competing for the same thing, which activates tribal fear. And it sets a boundary that feels objective, even when it was written by a marketing team at 3 in the morning. The third layer is consequence framing. This is the suggestion that inaction will cost you something specific. Miss this window and you lose the price. Miss this call and you lose the opportunity. Miss this moment and someone else will take your place. Each layer compounds the others. Together, they create a psychological environment where deliberate thinking feels dangerous. And that is not an accident. In 1999, Amazon began testing countdown timers on product pages. Conversion rates climbed sharply, not because the products changed, because the decision-making context changed. You were no longer browsing, you were racing. Here is where it gets biological. When urgency is triggered, your brain does not stay in its rational operating mode. The prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for long-term thinking, consequence evaluation, and impulse control, begins to lose authority. The amygdala, your threat detection center, takes over. This is the mechanism that kept your ancestors alive when a predator appeared. The problem is, your amygdala cannot distinguish between a lion and a countdown timer on a sales page. It processes both as threats requiring immediate action. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio spent decades studying how emotion hijacks cognition. His somatic marker hypothesis showed that under stress, the brain defaults to emotionally tagged shortcuts rather than deliberate analysis. In plain terms, when you feel urgency, you stop thinking about the future. You respond to the feeling of the present. And here is the piece most people miss. The intensity of urgency does not need to be overwhelming to be effective. Research from the Journal of Consumer Research found that even mild time pressure was enough to shift decision-making from deliberate to automatic. You do not need to feel panicked. You just need to feel slightly rushed. That slight rush is enough to bypass the most sophisticated reasoning you possess. And the people who build these systems know this precisely. They are not guessing. They are calibrating. They test urgency thresholds the way engineers test load tolerances. They find the exact pressure level that tips you from thinking to reacting, and they hold you there. Now let's make this concrete, because this is not just about advertisements. Manufactured urgency lives in places most people never question. In negotiations, urgency is created to kill your leverage. A recruiter tells you the offer expires Friday. A real estate agent mentions 3 other buyers. A business partner says the window for this deal closes at end of month. Each of these may be true, but they are also deliberately timed and framed to compress your deliberation. The countermove is simple, but requires discipline. You pause. You name the pressure out loud, even if only to yourself. You ask, what actually happens if I wait 48 hours? In most cases, the answer is nothing. In relationships, urgency is used to short-circuit your evaluation of someone's character. Someone who moves fast, who demands commitment early, who frames slowness as disinterest. They are often using urgency to prevent you from seeing clearly, because clarity requires time, and they know it. In politics and media, urgency is a constant operating frequency. Crisis language is not always about the severity of a situation. It is often about keeping your nervous system activated so your critical thinking stays suppressed. A population in permanent urgency is a population that does not question what it is told. So how do you defend yourself? You build what behavioral scientists call a decision delay protocol. Before any consequential decision made under time pressure, you insert a deliberate pause. You ask 3 questions. Who set this deadline? What do I lose by waiting 24 hours? What do I gain by deciding now? Those 3 questions force your prefrontal cortex back online. They interrupt the amygdala's takeover, and they return the decision to you. Now here is the part that reframes everything. Remember that experiment from the beginning, the one where removing time pressure made people rational again. The researchers followed up with a question. They asked participants, after revealing the manipulation, whether they believed the urgency had affected their choice. Almost universally, the answer was no. People were certain they had decided freely. They could not feel the mechanism that moved them. That is the true nature of manufactured urgency. It does not feel like manipulation. It feels like clarity. It feels like you finally see what matters. It feels like a good gut instinct. The most dangerous version of control is the kind you experience as freedom. And that is precisely why urgency is the preferred tool of every high-level persuader alive. From the world's largest corporations to the most effective political operatives to the most charming manipulators in your personal life. They do not need to force you. They only need to make the clock feel real. Every decision you have made under unexplained pressure deserves a second look. Not with guilt, with awareness. Because awareness is the only thing that breaks the circuit. The moment you can see the clock for what it is, a constructed illusion, it loses its power over you completely. The next time you feel rushed, stop. Not because the decision does not matter, but because the best decisions you will ever make will come from stillness, not pressure. If this gave you something real, the algorithm responds to likes, and it responds to subscribers. Both take 3 seconds, both cost you nothing, and they keep this work moving. There is more coming. Darker, deeper, and more useful than anything you have seen on this topic. Stay close. I'll see you in the shadows.